Hi, everybody. Welcome in. My name is Carol. I am the owner and creator behind Carol Joes. It is where creativity and community come together for the jewelry and accessory world. We do lots of fun things here. We have chat times, and that is where you get to ask questions about jewelry making, running your small business, that type of thing. So you can join us, ask your questions on the chat days. The next chat, I believe, is Wednesday night at 8 p.m. So we'll have a chat time then. We also do makers meetups, and that's where you can join us live on a square here on TikTok. And that is where you get to show us what you're creating, what you're doing, talk about what's happening. We also do tutorials, which normally when we do tutorials, it's where we show you step by step about how to do jewelry. Tonight's tutorial isn't a step by step. It is more of a discussion base. You guys can ask questions. Hi, Kay. Hey, Joya. Go ahead, ask questions as we're going through it because it is more along the lines of when we have a small business. So we'll get more into that. And then we also do live events, and that is where you get to claim some of the items that we have up for grabs to add to your bead collection. Just to let you know, Ashley, I am not live on the tube tonight, so you don't have to leave us. I'm going to download this and put it over on the tube after we get done with it tonight. I have been downloading a lot of videos from TikTok to put over on the tube for the replay. All right. So that is what we do. We also, we're at 58. Let's see if we can get that number up just a little bit, everybody. If you guys can add it to your stories, can you also go in and add it to your, or you can do a repost. You can also share it. You can copy the link. All of that gives us that number to go up. Thank you, Lolly. And thank you, Cece. It just helps out with the algorithm, especially if we do it right away when we get in here. One of the things I'm noticing is my algorithm is like this lately, and I don't get why. I don't know. So I'm bringing up the backup account, and now I am going to repost. I'm going to do the things here in just a second too. Heading it to my story. Thank you for that heart, man. She still has her luscious lips. All right. There we go. We got it. All right. I'm just excited. I'm excited about tonight's tutorial. What I was going to say about the shares. We've got our 10 share goal met. That's awesome. Now we just need to get to that 10,000 up there at the top. Once we get to 10,000, we'll start doing giveaways. I have a little bit of bead soup today. We have, okay, this is funny. It's still moist. I forgot to close this from earlier. We have the little keychains, the hotel keychains, and we will have creative credits depending on how we go through and how many likes we have tonight. But tonight's tutorial is about what we're calling a bar event. So a bar is not like where you go and have a cocktail or a drink at these events. What it is it allows your customers to have the build your own station. I didn't call it a bar when I had mine. Mine was you get to create, you can do your words however you want to do your words when you're because it's called marketing when you market it. But I would say to people, here you get to create your own unique, one-of-a-kind bracelet or necklace using charms and colored dangles to make something totally unique for you. Hi, Geraldine. It's once alive. It's once alive, Joya. Hey, Maria. And so I did my bar because I didn't call it a bar. When I did my own, that I was ahead of the time. I was like way ahead of the time. I started that like 10 years ago. I actually just went and was looking for something, and I would, from one of my vendors, I bought the adjustable bracelets because that's what I started with, was the adjustable bracelets. And I bought those for the first time 10 years ago. So I actually, thank you, Michelle. I did the bar event on charm necklaces and bracelets. And I started the bracelets 10 years ago. And then I brought the necklaces in because people were asking for them. So then I could add those to it. How mine ran, just to let you guys know, is that I had trays of charms set out on the table. I had a master list, and every one of them had a little number on it. So each tray had its own number, and I had a master list, and they would be like, do you have? And I'd bring out my master list, and I'd be like, it's in this tray. I couldn't remember all 19. I had 19 trays. Is that a little bit overboard? Yes, it is. Trust me, it was a lot. Some people found that overwhelming. So I'm not going to suggest you do 19 trays of charms, but you need to have enough to give everybody something to do. And what I would do is that the value of it was based on what you picked out when I did mine. My spiel was, I'm going to say words that they don't like here, but we're going to do it. Each charm was a value of 1. Each dangle was a value of 0.5. The adjustable bracelet was 3. The necklaces were 4. So depending on what you pick out, normally we do 3 charms, 2 colors. It can be anywhere from 5 to 10 for the value. I changed value. I did very well. I used to have this, so I just say it. And so you get to pick it out, but people get overwhelmed with putting it together. I'll put it together for you. So all you need to do is grab this basket. Literally, the baskets that I use here, these littler ones, I'd say grab a basket, start putting charms in there, and then pick out colors, and then decide you want a necklace or a bracelet. And people would be like, oh, where do I start? And I said, what's your favorite hobby? Do you have kids, grandkids? Do you have a sport that you love? Find something that's you and just start building it based on you. And I literally hand them a basket. I had the baskets spaced out in my area where all the trays were at so that I could always grab one and put one in their hand. Do you know that little piece of like grabbing it and going here? It might seem forceful. I get that. But what it did is it gave them a place to put everything in, a place to start, and then they would usually make it. Very rarely, because people would be like, if they didn't want to do it, they wouldn't take the basket. Well, we know you. You like the beach. So we would go to the beach one with the fish and the just all the sea stuff. We had a tray just for that. I literally had trays that were for babies. We had a tray for cooking. We had drinks in there. We had when you guys see all the charms that I bring, I would source and source and source. We had all 50 states at one time. I am not able to restock the states, everybody, when you guys ask for those, because when I was getting them before from my different vendors, they were not as much as they are now. Let me tell you. And so, oh, let me go bring that up. Is it on the backup account, Danelle, or the main account? And so literally you can design this to be anything that you would like. It's in my backup. Oh, this one? That is cute. Where'd you get the fuzzy flower? Where'd you get that? I love it. Because I know that's not a me thing, but that's okay. Because you get to find things everywhere. That is cool. I love it. So when you think about the bar, I mean, I'm explaining what I did. And so if you listen to me, you would pick out charms, you would pick out color dangles if you wanted them, and you would pick out a necklace or bracelet. 3 decisions, 3 major decisions, I'll say. Because once you got to, okay, charms, you got them hyper-focused on charms. Then when you got to colors, if they wanted them, not everybody did colors in there. And the colors were just dangles, you know, like when we do the loops, that's all that was. And then I brought a bag of 19 gauge, 6mm jump rings. And I attached it all there while they were waiting. That's how it was done. Well, yep, it is giving hippie vibes. But hey there, Jade. I am working on it. Your email. So that's why I was like a couple minutes late. I was working on Jade's stuff. And then I looked down and I'm like, I'm after 8 o'clock. I haven't forgotten. I am working on you. So that's how I ran what I'm going to say was my bar event. I just called it the charm, bracelet, or necklace. Oh, that's okay. So that's what I want. And one thing, if you listened, it said, I kept it simple. I kept it to 3. Now, I probably brought too many charms with it when you bring in 19 trays of charms. But when you think about it, I had every alphabet, so 26 right there. I had all 50 states. We had the gamut. We had one tray that was just all cats, one tray that was all dogs, and then 2 trays of different animals. So when you think about it from that aspect, that's a lot of different things. But what we did is that we would ask questions to the individuals when they were designing to be like, what do you like? Do you like animals? Do you want to do one for your kids? And literally what would happen is people would do more than one. So you have a kid that was in football in the fall. They would do the necklaces because we're up in the northern part of the United States. It gets cold during football, so we're bundled up. But wear that necklace. Then for basketball, you got the bracelets. And people would wear the bracelets because you're indoors. You can show off your bracelet. You would do a basketball charm or 2 with the school colors. I also had the numbers so you could put their jersey number on it. So those are the types of things to think about when you want to do this type of event. But one of the biggest things that I keep going back to is you want to keep it very simple on the picks. 3. And so don't overwhelm them with like, we have a whole bunch. And you can set it up that the way mine was set up is you went charms, then it went dangles, and then it went bracelet or necklace. So as you walked down the table, I put this on one 6-foot table and you just went down. But people would walk all around each other. And then the way I had my booth, you could come on the inside and look at it from both sides so that you could have multiple people in looking at it at one time. So that's how I did my setup. So think about it. What's really popular right now? I want to ask you guys, what's really popular that we think we could do bars on? And that's the one thing I want you to think about is how can we set these up? How can we have what our picks are going to be? So one thing that pops into my mind that is very simple, and if you're going to do this event by yourself, one of the things that's really simple that you could do very quickly and have one of these events at is a build a pen. I wouldn't call it build a pen. I would call it something funky and fancy. We have AI to help us name it. But what you could do is show them the focals, because that's going to be the first thing, the focal beads. Have out just a few focal beads. You could put them in a muffin tin. You could get divided, if you have divided these things. Why can't I think these types of storage containers where there's the divides? You could have just 1 or 2 of these filled up with the focals in it. And then next to it, have in there your accent beads, you know, the 15mm or acrylic beads. And you can tell them in the signage, say, pick 1 focal, pick 2 or 3 of this bead, and then lay out in like little trays like this if you've got them. And I'm not saying go buy stuff for this. Find what you have. If you have little containers like this, you can set out some pens in these and bring maybe 5 different color pens. You don't have to bring a lot of the, I mean, yes, if you would go to my studio, you're going to see that there is like, oh, I would say, I have no idea. I have no idea. I'd say 80 different pens options. You don't need that many for this. Keep it simple. Do like black, white, a pink or a blue, you know, whatever is the color. Like we're going into fall, so maybe not pink or blue, but like maybe a burgundy. Yep. Yep, you can do the keychains too. And you can do those the keychains with the beadable bars and just have it really simple there too with the keychains and put in, just like you're talking about, the Nana or the mom with the letters, and then just have one focal with it. Simple. And so it's really easy to be able to create some of these. If you're going to do the show by yourself, I would choose something simple like what Cece's talking about with doing a really simple keychain, beadable pen. I wouldn't do like, bringing out beads so that they could build a bracelet. Because to me, your options are going to be a little bit more, and it's also going to take you time to tie it. And then you've got to think about the drying time and all that kind of stuff if you are a gluer like I am. So, but thank you, Lisa, for that heart me. I appreciate it. So like really think about what can you do. And the reason why I am bringing this up is right now, these types of bars are extremely popular because it gives the customer something that, inside them of, I created it. I picked out all the beads. Yep. See, yeah. So she has a tray and a half of beads and letters. So it doesn't take a lot to have this set up. And with that being as simple as it is, do you run yours by yourself, Cece? Can I ask ya? Yep, it's an experience. That's the word I was trying to say, Paige. Yes, it's the experience. And right now, lots of individuals want an experience. And we're going into that season with the fall fairs and then going into the holiday fairs where the families are going to get together and do this. Okay, see, yeah, when I did mine, I would have usually one of the kids with me, and they took care of doing the sales part, and I did the creation part and getting it all put together for them. But some of these, you might be able to do it all on your own, or if you wanted to just do the bar experience, and that's what you're doing, that's fine too. Because when I do mine, and you can tell me, Cece, if this happens with yours too, because I love that we have someone else that's doing this, is that we would get like the mom and the daughter or daughters, and sometimes you would get grandma, mom, and the daughter together, and they all three were going to do it. Because they're doing an experience. I love, Paige, that you told me the word experience because I couldn't think of it. They would all have the experience together, and it brings memories for them to have done something instead of just walking around an event. And what I mean by event is the in-person events. That was something that it was truly, and I would have people that would come back every year to do this because it was the experience of what they got to do. And so literally. Yep. So yes, I agree. On my larger events, I actually would have 2 people with all the all my jewelry, and then 1 person check out. I would put everything together, and someone else would tell them what to do, and then I could answer questions for everybody if they had questions. This larger event that I'm talking about is one day. It's supposed to start at 9 and go to 5, but what happens is people start coming to this event between 7 and 7:30 in the morning. I would get up, be down there at like 5 a.m. to unload my vehicle, because you have to have your vehicle off of the road by 7 a.m. So unload, take the vehicles away, because we used to bring 2. Oh no. Oh, I was wondering if you were having something, Nordic Luna. I will keep you in my thoughts, okay? You have some good rest. But then thank you, Sharon, for the follow. And so that event, I had 2 spaces, and there was over 50,000 people shopping. And so because there were so many, I needed everybody to help out. But that was an event that, yes, I brought extra people in. It also was the time that coincided with the Red Lobster's Endless Shrimp. And my thank you for everybody helping out was that after we packed everything up, put them in the vehicles, we drove to Red Lobster and had Red Lobster for supper. And everybody could bring their spouses with, and I took care of it. That was one of my thank yous to them. And so literally that's what I would do for those large events. Because when you get down to it, it was family. It was always family that came and helped. But literally that's what we would do. And let me tell you, you can ask my family. That's a memory. I tell you guys, I have so many memories with my family about my whole business, even when it was part-time. So, I wrote down a whole bunch of notes, so I want to make sure. Okay, we'll do the 10K. Let's do this one this time. Okay, let's pick a color. All right, everybody, go ahead and pick a one-word color. One-word color. I have no idea what these are. I'm just picking them. Let me see. I picked 2 out of the same bag. I'm like, wow, did I do that? I thought I went to a different one. I did that one the other night, so we're going to do it this one. Okay. I love this one. Let's see who's got it. Geraldine, you get to pick. I hope you're okay with this because she just got one. She guessed wisteria. Let me exit. So you get to choose if you would like one of the keychains. This one is number 1, and it says, "It's a beautiful day to leave me alone." I'm like, that's funny. We have number 2. And then number 3. So 1, 2, or 3, or did you want something different? I can mix it up. She's like, can I see him again? Number 1, you got it. I need to put your name on a bag and put this in the container. All right, because I don't have... She got a... Did you get a bird last week? Oh, no, it was the flowers. It was the flower. I'm going to write your name on that. You're welcome. There we go. This one goes here, and this one goes here. There we go. That is why I ended up getting these, Jade, is because Buttercup loves axolotls. And so I got a whole bunch of them. And the ones that are in there are actually duplicates. And then I'm giving away the others that we have in there. So one of the things that I'm going to recommend for this is, remember I said mine was like, it was a value of 1, 0.5, 3, or 4. That confused a lot of people. So my suggestion for everybody, that's what it was. My suggestion is set a flat amount, a flat value, because that's going to be easier to explain. So like in the case of, if we did the pens, you could just say it's a value of 5. I'm just making up a number. But you need to think about how much everything was, the value of everything for that, and your booth fee, because you have to think about that too. And all of the beads that go into it and such. So do you do a flat amount then when you do your CC for the keychains? And you can use, if you use a what do I want to say? A formula. Some people add up all of the components that are used to create whatever it is, if it's a bracelet, necklace, earrings, and they multiply it by a certain number, and that's what the value is. Yep. Okay. So yeah. And so that's what you can put your signage and just say one of this and this, or for a total of this, type thing, or however you want to word it, but you can set the limitations on it and just do a flat. I will tell you, after I did the bracelets for years, and I really wanted them to be able to customize it, but that was a huge confusion. So if you want something simple and not to confuse people, just do the flat. That's fine. For setup, like we talked about, Cece said she has a tray and a half for the beads. That's not that much. I mean, you're going to take up a little bit of the real estate of your table space for this. But like for me, I had a lot out. It took up a 6-foot table. When I was talking about that large event that I did, we had 20 feet wide, 10 feet deep. So when you think about how much square footage I had a lot. So using one 6-foot table wasn't that big of a deal. I have shown you guys pictures of an event that I did indoors. And that one was 20 by 8 foot. It wasn't as deep. But both of those, you can set them up to where people can be on both sides of the table if possible. The large one, I didn't have people because we didn't have the room between different vendors to be able to be on both sides. And we didn't want to put it in the center because we're in everybody's way at that point in time. So we would just put it on the outside and spread it out. So that's what I will say. I had signs throughout that would tell them, and how I made my signs is I would just take and print my signage on a piece of paper, print it out, and I put it in a 4x6 picture frame. My colors for my booth were black and gray with hints of green. Some of my tablecloths were black, but then I had a runner of green in them sometimes. But my tablecloths were black. My picture frames were black for everything that I had signage for. My displays were gray. That's just the colors I chose for my business. And the reason why I chose my displays to be gray is that black and white jewelry show off of gray, but they don't show off of white and black. And most of your most popular colors when you're doing this is black and white. Everything usually has some sort of black and white in it. So that's what I will tell you. Because when I put stuff down on the black tablecloths, if it was black, you couldn't see it. So if you would have to put the colorful pieces on the tablecloths, and on the displays were everything else. But then also I had a couple of examples of what they could do with necklaces and bracelets. And so that I would pick it up and I'd be like, this is what it looks like at the end. The bracelets, people were like, how do you get those on? So yes, I would explain that. But then you have, and the thing is that you have interaction time. When you're trying to do your in-person events, one of the things that we always talk about is the connections that you can make, and interacting with someone is how you build those connections. So if you can be like, if this is something you're interested in, I can grab you the basket, and I would have the basket and I'd be handing it. I know that seems kind of forceful in a way, and I said that earlier, but people would be like, okay. And, people would tell me, I got to think about it. And I'd be like, okay, it's right here. If you need me, come find me. I didn't want to come across all the time as like, I'm pushy. But you got to get some interaction going in them. And I'd be like, here's a basket. Now, and I would say there's a lot to look at, and I don't want to overwhelm you, but let's start thinking about, do you have ideas of what you want to create? And they'd be like, huh. And I'd be like, on my information, it says things to start thinking about. And I would be like, do you have kids? Do you have grandkids? Do you have kids in sports? If they said kids, then I'd be like, do you have kids in sports? Or what's your hobbies? We had all kinds of hobby ones too. You know, people, I found out there's a lot of people that their hobby is going with their friends wine drinking. We had trays of beverages. We had wines. We would have different things that were wine related. You know, so people would be like talking about it, and based upon what they talked about, made my charms grow larger. So that's something to think about. You know, just keep it in a small area where you can oversee it. Don't like have it spread out throughout your entire booth. So yeah, so that's what I did. And, you know, I had my signs there, and people would stop and read the sign, and then I would give them a moment, and then I would go over there. Sometimes I would go over there before they were done reading, you know, or if they weren't reading, and I just say, here's what we got. What do I make? I have made jewelry for over 20 years, Tammy. And now with me being on social medias, we actually have tutorials, which is what we have tonight. We're talking about in-person vendor events. If you're someone that does jewelry, and an idea for what you could do for that. We also do chat times where you get to ask questions. We have makers meetups where you go and create, you can tell us what you're creating, get on our live and show us. And we also do live events where you get to claim the jewelry making supplies and accessory supplies. So we do a whole lot of stuff here, Tammy. So welcome in. And you could tell when people, you know, we would start the creative process by just asking questions. And I know it sounds really silly to ask the question, but I'm not going to lead them. I want them to start thinking and just asking a few questions. Once they got through the few questions, then they started getting the, oh, let's go. And we can coach them. We can help them out. We can point out where things are at, but 100% of the creation would always be on them. You know, one of the things that I'm going to say here that still applies here that I would tell, when I would do Girl Scout events, for them to earn a badge, they would have to create jewelry. And one of the things that I would tell, if I had people that would come and help me, because I have done Girl Scout events where I had like 40 girls, because they took all the ages of the troop and they just brought them in for one event. And we did that. So I brought people in once a year to do that one. And if the leaders were helping out, you would say, I would say to them before we begin, we can show them how we're going to put it on the tray for them to create it. We don't give like any like feedback to them about what they're creating, because they are so excited about what they're creating. You know, like, you know, if we got to like, it was too big or too small, then you can offer up, hey, have you thought about like this bead to add to your bracelet to get it to the right size? On the keychains, I bet, Cece, you'll be like, we need to add a bead or take a bead off. What one would you like to do? You know, that type of thing. We offer a way to get it completed, but we don't go, this color, and this color is the greatest thing. We let them have that experience of the creation. That is one thing that I was like always on any of my things is you get to create it. People would be like, I don't know how to put it together. And I go, we're going to give you some options here. And I would lay them out and say, okay, this way or this way. And they would be like, oh, let's move this around. Perfect. Let them have the whole final say. Give them options. Let them think, okay, I put this together. All right, we're going to do a 20K. I need to get more stickers over here. Let me find another color on my table. All right, one word color for the 20K giveaway, everybody. I'm trying to think of how to do this as a clue. A clue for this word, and I'm not. Buttercup used my glue and she put it down at the bottom, and I like it at the top, so I'm redoing it. It can be, oh, nope, I don't have to do it. Thank you, whoever that was. Thank you, because I was having a hard time coming up with a clue for the word tonight. Lori R., you are the winner. You will get 5 creative credits towards your basket. She guessed magenta. Yes, you did. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm like sitting here going, all I can think of is pink purple. You're very welcome. Checking out, Cece says her husband helps with the checkout process. I would have bags right there, and it was also by where I would have my checkout at, so that if I were doing it by myself, I could do it really quick. And also, if other people came up with other jewelry items that they would want, I could check them out really quick. So that is one thing where I kept my checkout really close to where the charms were at. How do you do yours, CC? And I mean, the thing is that I would also say if it was an event that was really close by where I lived, I'm like, you can get your girlfriends together and we can have a night out and they can build this too. And we can bring other jewelry in and we can have a girls' night in. I used to do those types of parties like Monday through Thursday. I didn't usually do them on the weekend because I had live events on the weekend. But we would have them, and they would just have hors d'oeuvres, appetizers, whatever you want to call them, and a couple of beverages there. And it was fun. And whoever hosted it would get some items for hosting too. I would give them items. So you can turn this into more than just a live event at a show. You can also turn it into an in-home experience. As I say, I was like, wait, no, I didn't see that. So I'm going to go on. So like Cece said, okay, we have it close to the checkout, so I could always tell them if it was more. Okay, see, perfect. Yep. And that's where I would do it too, because it was just easier. It literally was easier for me. And then if you need helpers or not, if you have a this is what I'm going to say. If you have a very small one that is very easy, that it's just going to take a minute or two at most to put together, then you might not need someone else in your event with you. But if it takes a while to do it, you have a larger, like sometimes I had my 20-foot. That's a large area for one person to try to cover. I would bring in the kids, Ryan. My sister came with me to events. You know, we had family. When my mom was still here, my mom would help me out with events. She's so funny. She does not like Red Lobster, so she would not always come to Red Lobster. No matter how much we tried to get her to go, she's like, I just don't like Red Lobster. She didn't like seafood. My dad did. I'm like, you can get something else there. Dad can eat. So yeah, so that is what we would do. Is it turned into like a whole family event. So depending on the size of it, So think about that before you like dive right on in, because that might make a difference of what kind of offering you have. Something that people always asked about at my live events, especially when I had the larger ones, was about theft. It happens. Okay, so you only have them at the larger events. It happens. And I always said, everybody would ask me, my standard response to that was, it's between them and God. I am not going to cause any type of scene if that is going on. I have seen vendors running after people at events because of it. Number one, I don't run. I will say that. Number two, what am I going to do with them? Yeah, you can call the police, but how are you going to hold them? I mean, some of these events that you go to are a church hosting the event, or some sort of, like for us, it was like the churches, a school event. They don't have security there. Who's going to hold them? And so literally it didn't happen very often, I will say. And I say it's between them and God. So people always ask me that question. I will tell you. That was my standard response. So what you want to do is, so that you do not feel overwhelmed at the start of any event, plan it out with what type of beadable event you're going to want to add to your in-person event. We're saying event a lot here. Keep it simple to 3 items. I would say I have done the build your price. I'm not supposed to say that word. Build your value. I would suggest, this is me, flat. You can find out, one of the things that people think about is like, oh yeah. And the thing is that when I saw it happen, it was kids, like 4 to 7-year-olds. I didn't want to accuse a little child. Yes, their parent needed to know about it, but I'm like, the parent's going to figure it out when they have it. That's what I'm just going to let it be there. So hold on. So yeah, so that's why it doesn't happen very often. And I did in-person events I got to think about this now. I did them from 2006 through the last one I did was, I didn't do it this year, 2023. Yeah, I've seen it happen. I don't know how. I can tell you where I laid things out. I know what, because I was checking, if I checked everybody out, I could tell you what was sold. I could tell you all of that. So I knew pretty much if it happened or not. Very rarely. Very, very rarely. So how much to bring? Geez, you guys are just going to town. We're going to do the soup on this one. You guys get all 3 tonight. Let's see what color we can see in the room. I need a color that I can see. That just is catching my eye. I got one. All right, there we go. 1-word color. And I got to go get some baggies. I used the last one on our chat time. There we go. Somebody guessed it. Paige, you are the winner. She guessed the color silver. Let me write your name so I do not forget. All right, Miss Paige, you are going to get a bag of bead soup. It's got an acrylic. You've got that green teardrop. You've got some letters. You got lots of glass in there, electroplated glass. We have the teardrops, wood beads, glass pearls this side. We've got some metal beads, lots of metal. We've got the daisy spacers. You got all different kinds. So congratulations. You're welcome. See, I just, one of the ladies that I did a lot of events with, she did inventory before and after too. I didn't have time to do it. I will admit it. I didn't have time. How much to bring with you? That's always a major question. And that's the hardest thing to answer, I think. I just brought enough that my, trays looked filled, but not overflowing and not empty. I know that's going to be a weird thing, but it might be 3 charms in each one of the holes of each option. I had a bag that I could replenish them with. Oh, yeah, that's true. And so mine was all one of a kind, so I never repeated patterns very often. So that's why it didn't really matter for me. And so what I'm going to say is just enough. But if you want to know about, most shows can tell you about, I love that, Cece. Most shows will tell you what they expect for attendance. And the way that it was always taught to me, and the numbers could have changed, is 10% of the total amount that are in attendance will stop at your booth. Because people don't stop at every booth. There are people that are like, I don't wear jewelry. I'm going to keep on trucking. It's okay. You know, or they will be like, I've seen 3 jewelry booths. I don't want to see another one. We're going to have all kinds of things that happen. So if the event, like that 50,000 event, that meant 5,000 people were stopping to look in that day. So that's, but not all of them are going to buy. You will get to about 10% of that. So that gets you down to, on that large event, 500. That's a lot. So yes, we did stock up for that one. But if it was a small rural town in South Dakota for an event, they might have 500. And when you do the math, that gets it down to 5. And you're like, do I do the event? Yes, you do, because that 10% isn't correct. You usually get like 250 stop in your booth because that's their outing in their local community. So at the larger events, go with the 10-10 rule. 10% will stop, 10% will buy. That's what I do at the larger events. So when you think about that, I need to bring enough to be able to, are they going to always buy what you have at the bar? No. So you just need to be like, okay, let's just do a guesstimate of 30% will come from there, or whatever percent you want to use. So that's what I would say. And then like your signage, that's the biggest thing. I will say signage is big. And if you want it bigger than a 4x6 because you have it in the space, put it in there. I just didn't want my signs to take over my space. So that's why I went with 4x6. They are needed. I know people don't do business cards hardly anymore, but they are out there. And of all things today, when I took Buttercup, yep, I agree. The larger events, find something that you could do that will tie them in, make them come, do, I can't say the S. But someone, when we were at Buttercup's appointment for her nails, someone asked for my business card today. I don't have a business card anymore. I do everything electronic. And so I just shot her a quick text and said, here's the info. And she's like, okay. But you can do QR codes at your checkout too, you can have the business cards and the QR code. So if someone doesn't want to take the business card, they can snap it and it will send them to all of the ways. You can send them to all your social medias. You would be able to send them to your studio, all of that. Have that there too as an option. Thank you. Is it a normalized art? I had to read it. So there we go. Thank you for the follow. The one thing that with the bars, you can change out, like we're going to go into here, the fall sports. You could do football pens. You could do, there you go. That is an awesome idea, Cece. So how did you find to be able to do that? I love that she's giving us ideas here, because I would have never thought about a wristband. I'm like, where did you get them at? Can we say here on TT? But like pretty soon we're going to be into Halloween, Christmas. You can do it that way. Okay. Cool. Thank you for sharing that. Because that's another idea. Because we have to be creative. Because people don't always want the business card anymore. They just go and throw them away when they get home. But I found that having my QR code, and the QR code would also be, there would be something in the QR code that allowed them to go in for a drawing. If you started following me and that type of thing, then I could see who they were and I could put them in a drawing. Hi, Sissy. Thank you for that heart me. And so you can get creative on how to get, because the one thing you want to think about is how in the world can I get people to know about my future events? Because like Cece, if you guys read her in the chat, she said she would run the S word and then also advertise it. You can advertise on all of your social medias about where you're going to be, what your specials are going to be, and what's going to happen at that event. You can also, sometimes you can give it to the event coordinators too, so they know ahead of time and they can add it to what they're putting out there. One thing that we have when you do in-person events is that you can't expect the coordinator to bring everybody in. You need to help bring people in too, so that we can continue to grow. Because that's the only way that everybody's going to grow, is if everybody goes out and does it. Ooh, there you go. See, and that's what, it's not even that much to do that, but that gets them so that you get to that next price point. Because that is one thing that if you can get them. Oh, I have never done that. That's a great idea. And literally, those types of things. So the what she's talking about for the kids there, that's the adult that's there with the kid is like, that was cool. We're going to think about them, that type of thing. It's how can you build a connection? That is a connection that will go forward. And so those are the things to think about, and how to get them to follow you on social media. The other thing, I don't do this, I need to figure it out, is how do I send out electronic communications to those that subscribe to electronic communications? I know it's out there. I know I say I'm going to do it. I just have not spent the time to figure it all out. And that is a great way to make sure that you're growing. And you can get those at the events. Sorry, I know this was about bar and creating another, what we're going to call experience for people while they're at events. But we've talked about other things to help you out with your events. And I think it's a great conversation that we've had. And thank you so much, Cece, for sharing what you do. Because I think if we can share out, the one thing that I will say is that we can all do different things like we're talking about and make it our own. The one thing that I look at is you don't copy somebody 100% of their business plan, because that's just not, you got to put some thought into it. I have not seen somebody copy mine 100%. Have they taken um some of my ideas and made it their own? Yep. And you know what? I think that's wonderful. I'm okay with that. 100% okay. Yeah. And that's what in certain states, I'm going to tell you this about the sales tax. Certain states, you can include sales tax in your prices, and in some states, you cannot. To make it easier, when my kids would come and help me out with my events, I would include the sales tax in my prices. So I didn't have that. Yeah, some places can't. So I did my events in Minnesota, Iowa, and South Dakota. Nebraska, you were not allowed to do that. So I didn't go to Nebraska. And that was my choice. We are an hour in like 15 minutes away, just hour and a half away from Nebraska. I could have done events in Nebraska, but with my kids, it was just easier to not do those events. And if you live in one of those states, you can't do it. So yes, what Cece lives in one of the states where you can't do that. And so literally you have to know that if you're going into different states. And I live in an area, I know, and it's like, you have to. And it was funny because we went to the Omaha Zoo in Nebraska, and you would go and get a bottle of water, and then you would get all this change back because they have to charge sales tax and it can't be included in the price. And I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm like walking around with change at the zoo. I was just like, this is weird. That's what I thought. But I'm not going to complain that I had to be charged it. I just was like, whatever. And sometimes I'm like, you can just keep it. Because I don't want to, you're already bogged down with things when you're at a zoo with kids. Like, I didn't want one more thing. And you just be like, donation to the zoo. And I'm like, and it's funny because they would have it at like, right now, like waters are like anywhere from $3 to $5 a bottle at events. And so you'd just be like, well, and then you'd get this handful of change and you're like, oh dear Lord, because they would still do the same price. So that's why I like the states that didn't, that I could just include it. It made it so much easier for math. So yes. So I hope you guys learned something tonight, that if you do in-person events, that this is something you can think about, because it is extremely popular right now to have these at events. People are doing them with the slime, or building like take it home kit type thing. You can build something like the pens, the keychains, bracelets. You can figure out all kinds of things. I watched like about 5 or 6 weeks ago. I didn't even think about doing this as a tutorial until I started thinking about it this weekend. And I watched a video where someone would build something that you could take home and do as a craft kit. And it was, you got to pick out your mold, or not your mold. The reason why I'm saying this, they would have like cement little designs. And they would have like 3 colors, and they would have different, you could pick out 3 colors in these little containers. Remember when we had the little snap open containers, the little circles? You could pick out 3 colors, and then there was a paintbrush. So they had to mass order the paintbrushes. They had to mass order the containers. They bought the paints in bulk and just squeezed them into the containers, and then created those molds, or created this from the molds, those little cement pieces. And it was so much per kit, but you got to pick out what mold you wanted, what 3 colors, and a paintbrush. How simple. There, you're not even putting anything together, but you've created it so that they can go home and have the experience, but they got the experience of picking out what they wanted. The kits were, you got to put them all together. It wasn't that big of a thing. And so that's what I want you guys to think about, is what can we add people are doing these for different things. What can you add with what you've got? I'm not suggesting go out and buy huge displays. I'm not suggesting to bulk up on anything that you don't already have. What do you have that you could do this with? And if you guys do it, will you let me know what you did? Take a picture. Tag me in the picture if you post it on social media. And then let me know how it went. Because I'm curious how it is. Because right now, it is a big craze. Because some of the vendor events I've been to, you see them all over. So I want to know. Can you do that? Please. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed tonight. I will be back tomorrow, 2 p.m. on TikTok only, and we will be doing a makers meetup. I will bring a box to open up and show you what's in it. It will be box number 14 or 15. Oh, I don't have it. Good night, Geraldine. I do not have it on the tube yet, Maria. I am going to download it here from TikTok, and I will put it on the tube. So it'll probably be, because I got to wait for it to be available to download. I will, either late tonight or tomorrow morning, it will be available, and you can watch it. You're welcome. All right, everybody. We will see you tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Makers Meetup. You can bring what you want to show us. I'm also going to probably, it's not on the calendar, as long as I'm ahead of schedule on getting stuff ready for the rest of the events through the week, we may have another Makers Meetup on Thursday night. So I just got to stay ahead of schedule, and we'll do that, okay? Bye, everybody.